Right. Tonight we are going to talk about the most important aspect about Buddhism that's different from any other religion that you may come across. And it is a very important aspect in Buddhism. And this is something which is difficult to understand, difficult to conceptualize, but nonetheless, it is true, and it is only capable of being experienced through practice. What we are talking about is a self, right? In the world, everybody has this concept of a self or a soul, right? Which is permanent. Whatever religion you come across, the three great religions, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, right? All of them talk about a soul, right? A self. Now, they have different ideas. With Hinduism, you have with Hinduism, you have a self, but this self is attained a perfection. With the Brahmanic religion, the Islam, Christianity, you have a self, but then at the end of your life, it goes to heaven, and that's the end of it. Have an eternal life. Buddhism is slightly different. What the Buddha says about a self is that it is only a view, right? It is impermanent, right? Now that is kind of shocking, that then what do we have if we don't have a self? Right? If we don't have a self, then who is doing all these things? Who is doing all this talking? Right? This is something that's why it's very difficult to understand and difficult to conceptualize. But nonetheless, it is something true and can only be discovered by actually looking at this thing called self. Right? So this is where we're going to start. Right? We start from the very beginning to examine what is self. We don't try to understand the big question, is there self, is there no self, whatever that is. Right? Before we can answer this question, we have to know what is self is. Is it permanent or is it temporary? Right? In our practice, it is about experiential knowledge. Doesn't matter what other people say. Right from the beginning, I said it is something that you come to know for yourself through your own experience, through your own knowing, through your own investigation. Doesn't matter what the Buddha says, right? But we still have to come to know it by ourselves, by contemplating it, right? By recollecting what we know in the past. So that's how we are going to approach, right? To come to understand and know what is self. This is the most important thing. We do not jump straight into what all the scholars talk about, anatta, no self, non-self, absence of self, We understand what they say. We can even conceptualize roughly what they say, right? But this thing, is it true? Right? We have to know for ourselves. We don't start from a point of no self, because there's nothing from, if you like, nothing. You cannot work on nothing. You cannot work on a concept of nothing. You cannot say, no self is like this, non-self is like this. So what are we talking about? We're not talking about anything. Right? So we cannot approach that way. Right? So we are approaching it from a concept. If we start thinking about no-self or non-self, right? We don't want to start from there. I know a lot of teachers teach you, about this, they come straight into this. This is the state. We start from there. But that is the state. We don't know whether it is true or not. Okay? Why should we say this non-self, no self as a starting point? What is it in the first place, we are talking about? Right? So that's not the right approach. Okay? So like I say, we have to examine what we know for ourselves. Now, we come to ask the question, what you are like, and you have an idea what you are like. And the question to ask is, are you like what you think you are all the time? Right? Then you ask yourself this question. Are you like yourself when you are in different company? Right? So when you are with your friends, what are you like? When you are with your parents, what you are like? When you are in a formal establishment, whether in class or whether in work, what are you like? So you can find that you behave differently, right? In all those different situations, right? So you will find that You have different personalities, that you adopt different personalities appropriate to a particular situation. You will find that sometimes you create a different personality when you are in different new situations, right? And then sometimes you go to a party, you try to develop a different personality, right? So you find that though you have a self, right, it keeps changing. So that's the first thing we know. First thing we know about ourselves is that we can adopt one, we can change it. Sometimes we just fall into that kind of personality. And sometimes a personality comes out, one which we don't like, you know, like we suddenly become an angry person. We become a jealous person, or become a selfish person, or a generous person. So all these personalities sometimes it's not within our control at all. If we have a permanent self, then we should be able to control how we behave. We don't lose ourselves. That's the whole point. We lose ourselves because we do not have control. We do not have control because this self comes out through situation, comes out to contact with particular object in a situation. So a self arises to dependent origination. Depending on contact, feeling arises. Depending on feeling, craving arises. Depending on craving, there is clinging. Depending on clinging, there is becoming. We become, and then there is the birth of a self. So we become angry, we become jealous, or become a party goer, or become a daughter or a son, or become a father or a mother, or become a colleague, right? So in all these situations, right, we become. So this is what we know. So we know two things. First of all, that we have these many personalities that we become. Second thing, our personality changes depending on the situation. And because this personality goes according to this dependent origination, we don't really have any control. We do not like to become all those unwholesome or unskillful selves, but we have no control because it goes according to dependent origination. So this is the first thing to digest about the self, that we become. That it changes, that we have no control over it. Next thing we want to know is what we think about ourselves, how we define ourselves, right? And you find that we actually define who we are, right? We think about it, and then we think we are like this. We think other people are like that. And we are not consistent. It depends on our mood. Sometimes we think we are great, others are rubbish. Sometimes we think we are rubbish, and others are great. Now, what are all these thinking? They are just views. We don't really know. You see, we adopt this view depending on our mood. Right? We adopt this view of ourselves or view of others. That's all we do. Sometimes people give views about us, and then we accept those views and become who we are. Sometimes we reject those views. We try our best to reject those views. Whether good views, or bad views, we have a choice. Right? So when we boil it down, to analyze, to investigate, contemplate, we come to know they are just views. We know for ourselves that our views of ourselves changes depending on our mood. It's also part of dependent origin. Right? We become this, and then we think this is what we are. That's it. The question is, why do we come to adopt a view of a self in the first place? It is because of our conditioning. It is because of the society's conditioning. It is because of our language. In our language, we have a subject and an object. And that subject is I. That object could be me or somebody else. See? So we live in a world where there is an actor and a thing that is acted upon. Right? So we are conditioned into believing that we are actors. Right? So that's it. Our conditioning. To break this conditioning, we have to actually see the process of dependent origination. Where do we start? To come to realize that actually dependent origination is a process that is working. It is not the self that is acting. To counter this conditioning of being an actor, we have to continually see this process of dependent origination. In only seeing this process of dependent origination, can we then know what arises in us? We are all driven by feeling. We feel we want to do this. We do not want to do that. Then we ask the question, where does this feeling arise? And in dependent origination, feeling arises due to contact with an object. But more accurately, feeling arises due to contact with a mental identity that we have already formed about an object. So we have to see dependent origination. So when we see something we like, it is that thing that creates this feeling. A feeling of desire, a feeling of hate. We have to continually stay working at that level. You might not see the feeling, but you may progress to craving immediately without noticing the feeling. Soon as we see an object or a mental identity of an object, craving arises or aversion arises. Right? So continually seeing this, we come to know that it is dependent origination that causes feelings to arise. So when we see that we know that our feeling is not caused by itself, not by us. We cannot control this feeling that arises in it. We do not want to be in an argumentative situation with somebody. So we fall into it. We do not want to be in a subservient situation in a situation like this. But we fall into it. But there are many situations, we have to come to know how this feeling arises. By continuing seeing this process of dependent origination, it will slowly reduce our belief or our views in self. Because when we continually see dependent origination operating and the powerlessness of this view of self, then our views will change. So this is how we practice in regard of getting to know this view of through seeing the process of dependent origination. There is another, with itself, there is another aspect of relationship with itself, possession. Because there is a self, there is a self which possesses something. Now, is this possession true? Is this possession real? Is this possession permanent? Well, supposing somebody says, I've just transferred, about £3,000 to your bank account, right? Then you get all excited about it. Oh, I've got this money now, right? And you say, somebody has instructed me, an anonymous person has instructed me to transfer this £3,000 to your account, and I've done that. I cannot tell you who that person is, but that person is generous. He asked me to do it. Then you're all excited about it, then say, I have this money, But then later, I tell you that, sorry, I didn't transfer it to you. I transferred it to something whose name is similar to you. And then you're deflated. You see how this possession of something can change your mood. But is this possession real? Oh, it is not. It is just your idea or view that I possess this thing. Therefore, I have this thing. Therefore, I am something different. I have something. Right? And the next minute, you do not possess this thing. And you are different. So this possession is just an idea. There's no real substance in it. When we possess a car, if we really possess a car, everybody would know about it. We do not need a registration card. Right? It's proof that it is ours. Right? We need a deed or a piece of land we own. We need a title for the house we own. We have to mark the things we possess to show it belongs to us. We have to keep a record, physical record. Right? Because possession is not real. Right? We assign, that this belongs to somebody. That's all that is. If we don't assign it, we do not know who belongs. because it is not in that thing in itself where we can find an owner. So all these things about a self, ownership, and an owner are all just views. So these are the things we want to keep in mind, which is the reality in life. Ownership, owner, and belonging to. So when we come to think of this, we can extend human relationships as well. Right? The relationship between parent and a child. Is that really true? Does it really exist? Or does it exist through convention? There is no question about the physical relationship between parent and a child. There's no question about that. There's a direct inheritance of physical things. Now, when you come to relationship, it's a different thing. Yeah. It's a mental thing. If somebody comes and tell you, you have a brother, a long lost brother, a long lost sister, a long lost cousin, you do not know whether it's true or not. Right? You can also accept it. You can also reject it. So this relationship is kind of an acceptance or rejection. It is what we made up, right? So it goes to friendship as well. It goes to enmity. In conventional society, we have to accept this thing as truth. They're conventional truth. But in absolute reality, relationships are formed, are created. Which also means because they are created, they are not real. They are not bound by them. Right? If you have a nasty friend, you can break off with them. If you have a nasty spouse, you can break off with them. You do not have to keep them as a friend or as a spouse. You do not have any obligation at all. Because like I say, relationships are created just a few. But we can be very attached to those. So in our practice, on this path of purification, we have to determine what is real, what is made up by our mind. Because if we don't, that means we're not seeing things as they are. Right? That's the important part about the path of purification. To see things as they are, to know things as they are. Right? Because things which are not real, which are made up by the mind, are just delusive views. Right? They may be beneficial views, but they are still views. Right? So in our practice, all views are just views. They can create problems. They can cause us to be deluded. So this is what I'm going to talk. This is what I want to point out tonight about self, about others, about relationships. So how do you tackle these views depending on whether they cause you suffering? You do not have to undergo suffering because of this view. Why should you? Why should you adopt a view that gives you suffering? Huh? If you are a wise person, huh, you don't have to adopt a view that gives you suffering. Adopt a view that gives you happiness. We have a choice. Most people don't have the choice because they do not know what is real and what is just views. Now we do, then we can cut away this view, these bad views about ourselves that's causing us suffering. These bad views about others that is causing us suffering. This relationship which is not working and causing us suffering. We don't need it. We are not obligated to just leave you. But this is something you have to examine yourself, clearly to determine the truth, what is self, what a relationship is. And when you come to know for yourself its nature, its true nature, that they are just views. Then when you come to know that, then you have the courage to do what is necessary to reduce the suffering. Okay, I'm going to end here. Now, are there any questions? Okay? No, okay then. Good. Let me just end it.